Sourdough is probably the most complicated bread I've ever tried to make. My first loaf came out great, my next two did not turn out so great, but now they're coming out pretty consistent, so I wanted to share my method. First, you're going to want to feed your starter a little extra because we're going to need to take some starter. I'm doing a double batch, so I'm going to need quite a lot of it. I don't usually measure for this, I just put a few scoops of flour in, but I did it on the scale so that you can see how much I used. I'm using all-purpose flour, unbleached. I have used bleached before. They say not to do that, but it seems to work for me. And some water. And the main thing is you want to have a creamy consistency, like kind of a thick pancake batter. This part doesn't have to be exact. Then it goes into the fermentation station overnight or until it's doubled in size. And now I'm going to add some water. This was my first mistake because I forgot I was doubling the recipe at this point. Then add the starter. Mix that together. Add your salt. And then add some wheat flour. And white flour. At this point, I've realized that this is way too thick and I must have forgotten to add the right amount of water, so I added the rest back in. Then you're going to do the auto lease where you just let it sit for 30 minutes and hydrate everything. And now I'm using a wet hand to do kind of a stretch and fold. It doesn't have to be real specific. And then it's doubled in size after waiting a few hours. Just dump it out onto a work surface and divide it in half. Flour it. And I'm going to try to do this one-handed rolling shaping method. If you don't have a camera on your left hand, you could probably do this with two hands. And just fold from the right and then from the left and then try to roll it down the middle like this. I did eventually give up with the camera and just did it off camera. Then dust your Banneton. I think you could use any bowl, to be honest, but this Banneton gives it that spiral on top, which is kind of cool. It might also help with the wicking or something to make the crust a certain way. I'm not sure it matters that much. Flouring the tops of these, and they're going to go in upside down into the Banneton to get the spiral on top of your loaf. And here they are in the Banneton with the ugly side up. That'd be the bottom once you flip it out. And I do put a little bit of flour around the edges so that as it proofs and expands it doesn't stick. That would be the worst. Then put the covers on and put them into the fridge for at least 2 hours or overnight. I waited till the next day. Then preheat your oven to 485 degrees Fahrenheit with your Dutch ovens inside to preheat them really good for at least an hour, honestly. then get some parchment paper and put some flour on them. Now it's time to turn out our dough. That one's being a little stubborn. I'll be a little more stern with the next one. That's the way. Now I'm just kind of dusting off that excess flour. I think I ended up just putting it back into my banneton so that I can use it as flour for next time. We're almost done. Just take a razor blade and try not to cut yourself while you carefully score them like this. You want to go pretty deep rather than too shallow. Now I'm spritzing them with water. And place them into your preheated Dutch ovens. And now for the moment of truth. After baking, let's see how it looks. Pretty good. That one's even better. I'm gonna celebrate with some homemade chocolatos. And we did put them back into the oven for another 10 minutes just to golden up the top. And this is how they turned out. There's a little crinkle around the edges from that parchment paper, so maybe I'll be more careful about lining that pan next time. But I think it turned out pretty good. Make sure they cool for at least an hour before cutting them so they're not raw in the middle too. That's pretty much it. Good luck.